Palworld is a game that's pretty much the demon love child between Pokemon and Ark Survival Evolved. First, I'm going to throw up these timestamps of the different parts of the video just in case you want to skip around. Anyway, Palworld started as a literal Pokemon with guns project by a relatively small game studio over in Japan. Though the idea of Pokemon and guns kinda gave it a platform for a little bit, all the hype kinda just slowly faded out and it was pretty much not heard of again for a couple more years until recently. Although this was just a small gimmicky Pokemon with guns game that seemed like it wasn't really going to go anywhere, it actually ended up evolving into this insane open world survival game where instead of like dinosaurs you have these pals, which are Pokemon like creatures, and that's a controversial topic within itself that we're going to talk about later. This game was not really insanely hyped up or anything, and as most people know by now, it's broke a lot of records on Steam and it's entered its way, I think, top 5 most played games on Steam already. One thing I have to explain before I get into why this game could actually save the Pokemon mainline franchise, I have to talk about the discourse that is going on online right now surrounding this game. And to be honest, most of the hate and most of the drama surrounding this game is all coming simply from Pokemon fans that are butthurt. Because unfortunately, Nintendo created one of the most captivating game series of all time. So all of these Pokemon fans have this unconditional love for their favorite multi-billion-dollar company. And I would know, because I'm one of them people. However, some of these fans are extremely delusional, and I'm not really here to sugarcoat it. I hate seeing it. Some of these fans are out here sending death threats, slandering these artists and designers that made these models for the characters in the game, all because their fictional monsters look like someone else's fictional monsters. At least at the time I'm recording this, there has been no substantial evidence of any of the Palworld designers straight up ripping Pokemon's designs. And obviously, some of these creatures do look very similar. I'm not going to sit here and lie like they don't look similar, but you have to remember a lot of these game designs come from cultural references, mythology, and just some of the same real life animals. So there cannot be that much creativity put in without losing the original form of what they were designing off of. But I'm not going to sit here and say it's not possible to, go out of your way to be like, oh, this does look a lot like this other creature, and just kind of tweak it at least a little bit to not make it look like a carbon copy. That's pretty much the main discourse surrounding the game, but there are a little bit of other things that people are talking about right now, and it's the fact that some of the aspects of the game, like the UI or the skill tree or the crafting, people are saying those are kind of ripped from other games, and that is kind of obvious. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, I can see how that is kind of a problem, but at the end of the day, that is kind of how most games or other things are made in general, and that's kind of how it is for a lot of games. I mean, you have your own creative idea, but then you take aspects from other things that have worked for other games or other individuals or whatever, and you apply that to your own craft in your own way. It's a blurry line sometimes. Taking a crafting UI is not nearly as bad as taking a full-on creature's design and just stealing it. And besides that, the only other drama I've seen are people accusing them of using AI to create the designs, which I'm pretty sure I saw got disproven really quickly. Also, there's this tiny amount of people that are outraged because the game is teaching you to abuse animals or normalizing slavery. I don't know. I mean, I literally saw how y'all abused Bidoof back in Gen 4 though, but I'm gonna let it slide. Anyway, even though there's all these Pokemon fans that are bashing the game for almost nothing, I'm actually seeing another side of Pokemon fans that are genuinely happy there is another game that can rival Pokemon right now. But I'm using the word rival in a very loose way because there's pretty much nothing Palworld or most game studios can do to go head to head in sales or media representation against Pokemon, bro. But just the fact that it was top 5 on Steam and sold as much as it did, I think 4 or 5 million in 3 days, that's pretty insane. I mean, I think that's actually half of the most recent entry, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's first weekend sales. That alone, I'm sure Game Freak will at least recognize its like success and the concept that it's displaying. And that's what many people are actually hoping for. They want this game to be a wake-up call for Pokemon and just be like, hey, stop dropping these lazy, unfinished games before someone else comes and does your job for you. Like, and I kind of agree with what they're saying because I've played every Pokemon main game and I've played most of the side ones too. In the last decade, only like 2 games were really received well within the community. The first game being Sun and Moon, which is already debatable. Some people absolutely adore these games, and I see a bit of people who actually just hate them. I personally am a fan of Sun and Moon. I think the game is actually really good, and I feel like a lot of people were just kind of upset with the amount of dialogue they give you at the start, but Pokemon fans mash A through all the good dialogue anyway, so what are we really talking about? And the other game being a more recent one is Legends Arceus, which is an absolutely amazing game. I personally think this is like top 3 Pokemon games of all time. But besides that, it's pretty much universally agreed upon that Game Freak doesn't really listen to their fans and kind of just ignores all the things they're saying, all their pleas, knowing that they can just release whatever game, unfinished or finished, and it will just sell copies no matter what. And as much as we can be mad at them, it's honestly fair enough because they're right. They're a company and their main goal at the end of the day will always be to make a profit, if we're being honest. It is a simple fact that some companies simply do not care about how you feel. But with all that, we can come to the main point of the video and talk about, can Palworld actually save the Pokemon series? The answer is yes, but the probability that that actually happens is very low. If I had to put an estimate on the probability that something important will change in Pokemon following up Palworld's success, I would put it at like a 10% chance. I just think that as a whole, Pokemon is just way too well established to actually have to care about things like this. However, the only thing I'm 100% certain of is that they will at least notice it. Because at the end of the day, someone's going to make a Pokemon mod and Game Freak is going to take it down immediately, if we're being honest. They're going to get it with the Nintendo Ninjas. That actually did happen after I recorded that last part. I just saw it on Twitter. Wow. Anyway, let's look at what would happen if Game Freak actually decided to care. I believe there are 2 main possibilities for what would change. The first one being that we would have to wait longer for the next main title game. And if we look at it, they've been doing main title releases every year since 2016. And I'm thinking maybe, just maybe, they can put some extra love, care, and time into their 10th generation of Pokemon games. I mean, can we just get a game where they just iron out all the big glitches, you know, ensure some quality, add some quality of life things. Importantly, maybe add more base game content instead of DLC, even though the DLCs have actually been pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. And they would probably keep going with the design of like the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's like open path, you know, do whatever you want kind of deal. However, the other option, which is kind of my favorite option right now, is a second Legends Arceus game, but with way more base game content. I think a second Legends game would be absolutely amazing because Legends Arceus was probably the best first playthrough you could ever get out of a Pokemon game. And I think if that game was a bit more fleshed out, it would probably be #1 on anybody's charts, bro. But Palworld was successful for the same reasons Legends Arceus was so cool. It's simply just different. I mean, look at it. Legends Arceus had a 3D open world. Its battle system was completely new and unique to us. The game was based on lore instead of a new part of the story. And especially with the gameplay revolving more around the map and being in the field and just exploring and learning about all the different types of Pokemon and like how that part of the game was relevant to like the current Pokemon that we know. And the whole reason Palworld is successful is just because of these same reasons. It's completely different. It takes parts of other games, combines them all into one very creative project, and you have something completely new and unique. It's just completely unserious, and that's the best part about it. It didn't try too hard. They put a ton of effort, but it wasn't like, oh, look at me, we're the best new version of this. Like, no, they just created something different. We have these little pals that are already familiar to us, but instead of being Pokemon that you can only just capture, trade, and battle with, you can have them help you build things, you can have them take over land, or you can run a terrorist organization where all the resources and things are mined and crafted by your own pals. And there are games that are, I think, better than Palworld with similar concepts, but people just kind of seem to ignore them, and it's kind of weird. And it's not like this is a Pokemon hate video. It's just more like, if you've played Pokemon for a long time, then you know it has a ton of potential. And if you're a real fan, you can easily see that. It's just annoying to see like how Pokemon could be better, and just the fact that they're not really doing anything to really change it. It's like they have things in past titles that people absolutely loved, and then they'll just go and get rid of it. And it's just kind of weird that they'll never bring certain things back. And yeah, they did bring that ability back to walk with your Pokemon, but they brought it back in Let's Go, and it's like, you put it in the worst game. Also, get serious and stop making these weak news headlines saying this game actually has a chance at killing Pokemon. That's not possible. And I'm going to make a video on unkillable games, but that's not for now. That's for next week or the week after. Okay, that's it. I'm done for real this time.
Lately I've been all alone. You should bring your ass home. Don't play with the dawn. My feelings been hurt, you been gone. My nigga said you started seeing someone. I gotta see for myself. Yo ass be out here moving.